Speaking of Donald Trump and immigration, I do want to talk about this heavily hyped speech that Donald Trump did yesterday to try to clear up the multiple flip-flops about what is going to happen with his immigration policy. Trump started his campaign very strongly with an aggressive policy on undocumented immigrants, which was deport all 11 million of them by force and build a wall with Mexico that they will pay for. Then it softened a little bit to, well, we're going to deport the violent criminals. We're going to have some empathy. Everything's sort of negotiable. And this started a conversation of, wow, it seems like Donald Trump is actually kind of moving to what the President Obama policy has been, which has been a significant number of deportations. But we're taking into consideration people's situations. We're taking into consideration the fact that there are families now where the children were born here to undocumented immigrant parents, and we're not going to break up those families at this point. And then it looked like that backfired, so we seem to go back to deport them all. Okay, Trump then says, I'm giving a speech on Wednesday, and I will tell you more, and I will tell you the actual plan. Well, the speech happened, and I guess in a way nothing happened. The deportation seems to be on. Trump said you cannot obtain legal status, period, or become a citizen of the United States by illegally entering our country, and promised that if he is the next president, gangs would disappear. Completely impossible promise, will never happen. And that illegal immigration would decrease and safety would be increased for all, saying we will terminate the Obama administration's deadly, and it is deadly, non-enforcement policies that allow thousands of criminal aliens to freely walk our streets, do whatever they want to do, crime all over the place. That's over. That's over, folks. That's over. So what is the policy here? I mean, I guess it's the same thing that President Obama has been doing, just more strongly enforced in some way.
I think so, but it's interesting because in this case of him kind of waffling back and forth, he's not even really being kind of cited as a waffler. And it's interesting if you look at John Kerry, who is kind of considered the original waffler, who only waffled when circumstances changed about the Iraq war. And then on immigration, nothing here has changed, yet he's going back and forth, clearly just to pander to voters.
Well, this illuminates the total vacancy of the Swift boat movement that successfully branded John Kerry as a flip-flopper back in 2004, where John Kerry, after circumstances did change, the famous quote, I was for it, but I was against it before I was for it. I was for it, but before I was against it, whatever it was, branding him as a flip-flopper. And that really stuck with him throughout the campaign, Jason. Here we have Donald Trump, who for no reason whatsoever, other than the PR and political posturing purposes, has taken somewhere between 3 to 6 different positions on immigration, 5 to 10 different positions on what, if anything, the federal minimum wage should be, all sorts of different positions on a bunch of different issues. And although now independent media is saying, hey, on this issue, he is a flip-flopper, he's mostly evaded that critique when it's far worse.
I really like waffles, but I prefer them for breakfast. I don't want them in my presidential office.
There is some practicality, maybe, Rachel, to that. Donald Trump floated this idea of being a little more empathetic on the deportation. And then because his base is mostly so extreme, they said, wait a second, empathy? What are you talking about, Donald? No. And then he had to back up and say, no, I'm back on the deportation. But what this proves to me, Trump doesn't really have anything that is his personally held belief on almost every issue. I'm increasingly convinced by these taking every single position on so many issues that it's just kind of like, well, what should I say? What's going to win votes? Oh, A? Sure, I'll say A. Oh, the opposite of A? Let's try that. Oh, it doesn't work. I'll go back to A. Because his personal convictions are essentially non-existent. And this relates, number one, to the reality that historically he's been more of a left voter than a right voter, but also he just doesn't know very much about politics.
Right, exactly. And I think because he also tends to kind of circle around what he's saying, and if he doesn't really have any core principles, I guess your kind of kryptonite of saying, okay, he's a waffler, it's not going to affect him as strongly because he's not bouncing back and forth as much from A to B. It's kind of a wash of A, B, C, and D.
And not only is it not going to hurt him, we talked earlier this week about how Trump voters have been interviewed and they've been asked, Aren't you worried that his policy ideas are either one sentence with no explanation whatsoever, or taking 3, 4, or 5 completely conflicting positions on issues? Doesn't that concern you? And many Trump voters, remember, Jason, we had a quote from someone who spoke to NPR, said, I consider what Trump says more of a starting point. I don't really think that it's all going to be figured out now. He'll figure it out. I'm comfortable with what he says, just sort of being a starting point. Nothing is really set in stone. And I mean, that is a hell of an understatement.
Yeah, he's using this as a giant just testing ground of,
Right.
Spewing verbs and words out together and hoping that one segment of the population takes to this one segment of the population takes to this one, and somehow everyone's going to be happy and vote for him.
It's absolute idiocy, but it's working. It's actually making many people say, I kind of like it, because fine, his positions in January, March, April, and June on immigration, they don't really appeal to me. His February position on immigration, I really think that that's a guy I could vote for. And of course, this is because the guy stands for absolutely nothing other than trying to finagle away to get into the White House, which it's possible that he would do. And we'll talk about the updated polling we have early next week. Let's take a break. There is a lot coming up today. I'm glad you're with us. I've talked about how people of all ages, but particularly millennials, are owning cars less and participating more in the sharing economy. And one of the more popular options is Zipcar, which gets you a car when you want it, when you need it. They offer all sorts of cars, SUVs, hybrids, whatever you need. It includes insurance and it includes gas. You just pay for the time that you actually use the car. And you can reserve the car online from your smartphone over the phone. Then you unlock it with your Zip card. Each car share member reduces their personal CO2 emissions by between 1,100 and 1,600 pounds per year. For our audience, Zipcar is offering $25 of free driving credit if you sign up at joinzipcar.com/David. Support our show, reduce your carbon emissions and your spending on cars. Sign up at joinzipcar.com/David.